the little crowned one who traded her throne for a moment of love. The child sat on a throne that was too large for her body. Her feet did not touch the floor. They hung above cold metal, small boots swinging slightly as the great hall breathed around her. Light panels moved slowly across the ceiling, showing stars, fleets, and distant worlds under human control. The hall was silent, not because it was empty, but because everyone inside was afraid to speak. She wore a thin crown made of living metal. It adjusted itself to her head, soft on the inside, sharp in meaning. The crown was older than any person in the room. It had rested on the heads of warriors, planners, and rulers who had shaped the human path across the galaxy. Now it rested on a child who had not yet seen a real sky with her own eyes. They called her the Little Crowned One. No one used her birth name anymore. That name had been locked away with her childhood. Around her stood the High Council, men and women in dark clothing, faces calm, eyes always watching. They spoke in careful tones, using long words and numbers that never seemed to end. They talked about borders, supply lines, and distant stars that burned under human flags. They talked about threats that did not yet exist but might one day. They talked as if the child on the throne was not there. When they asked her questions, they were not really questions. They were confirmations. A light would appear in front of her, and she would press yes or no, guided by training, by lessons repeated again and again since she could walk. She had learned how to rule before she learned how to play. The Little Crowned One did her duty. She always did. Beyond the great hall, the station moved like a living thing. It was the heart of human space, a place where decisions traveled faster than ships. Miles of corridors twisted around engines, farms, living areas, and machine cores. Thousands lived and worked there, but most would never see the throne room. One of those people was a young maintenance worker assigned to the station's life core. His job was simple in words and heavy in weight. He made sure the air stayed clean, the water stayed pure, and the power never failed. He worked long hours in quiet spaces where machines hummed like distant storms. He had never seen the Little Crowned One before that day. A system error pulled him out of his normal path. A pressure drop near a secondary life support channel sent him climbing through a narrow service shaft that opened near the outer edge of the Great Hall. He was supposed to turn back, to call for clearance, but the alarm was rising fast. If he waited, parts of the hall could lose air for seconds. Seconds were enough to cause panic. He fixed the problem quickly, hands steady, mind focused. When he turned, he realized where he was. The hall stretched before him like a frozen ocean. Guards lined the walls. The council stood in a half circle, and at the center, on the throne, sat the child. Every eye turned toward him. The guards moved at once. Weapons lifted. The council members stiffened. Someone shouted an order. The young worker froze, heart pounding, hands still dirty with machine oil. The Little Crowned One raised her hand. The motion was small, but the effect was immediate. The guards stopped. The room fell silent again. She looked at him with clear eyes. Not cold, not kind, just curious. He dropped to one knee, without thinking. His head bowed low. "I am sorry," he said. His voice echoed too loudly in the hall. "There was a fault in the system. I fixed it. I did not mean to interrupt." The council waited for punishment to be ordered. Instead, the child spoke.
"How old are you?"
she asked.
Her voice was soft.
It sounded strange in the massive room. He hesitated. No one had ever asked him a personal question here. I am 20, he said. She nodded slowly. Do you like your work? Another pause. This time, longer. Yes, he answered. It keeps people alive. Some of the council members shifted. This was not the answer they expected. The child tilted her head. You did not say it serves the Empire? He swallowed. People first, he said, before he could stop himself. The silence grew heavy. The guards tightened their grips. The little crowned one looked at the lights above, then back at him. You may go, she said. The guard stepped aside. The council said nothing. The young worker stood, bowed again, and left as quickly as he could, heart still racing. He thought that would be the end of it. It was not. Over the next few days, the little crowned one found reasons to pass near the life core section. Official reasons, written and approved, but unnecessary. Each time, she sent the guards away for a few minutes. Each time the same worker was there, fixing something, checking readings, moving carefully among machines that were older than the station itself. At first, he was afraid. He spoke only when spoken to. He chose his words with care. But she did not speak like the council. She asked simple things. What is that sound? Why does the air smell different here? Have you ever been to Earth? He answered honestly. The sound was the filter's breathing. The air smelled clean because it had no perfume added. He had been to Earth once, as a child. He remembered open land and clouds that moved slowly. She listened closely. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she looked sad, though she did not seem to know why. One day she asked, Do people choose their work? He thought before answering. Some do, he said. Some do not. Did you choose? She asked.
Yes, he said.
I could have joined the fleet. I did not want to. Why? She asked. I did not want to fight people I have never met, he said. I wanted to keep people alive instead. She looked at her hands, small and pale against the dark fabric of her clothing. I did not choose, she said quietly. The words hung between them. After that, she began to sneak away more often. The council believed she was reviewing data or resting. They did not see the harm. The child had always obeyed. She always would. They were wrong. Beyond the station, deep in the dark between stars, shapes moved. Ships without lights drifted along hidden paths. They watched human space with old eyes and careful plans. They spoke of the child ruler in quiet rooms using names filled with fear and anger. The throne is the symbol, one voice said. Break the symbol, and the empire shakes, another answered. Humans protect their young. That is their weakness. Long-range sensors caught shadows at the edge of detection. Reports were filed, then buried under more urgent matters. Expansion plans, resource claims, trade pressure. The little crowned one did not know any of this. She only knew that when she sat on the throne, she felt like an object. When she stood beside the life core machines, she felt real. One evening cycle, alarms sounded softly through the station. Not loud enough for panic, just enough to signal attention. The council gathered. Data screens lit the hall with red lines and moving points. Unknown ships. Watching. Waiting. The council spoke of defenses and traps. Of showing strength. A little crowned one watched their faces. Calm. Focused. Almost eager. She thought of the young worker and the way he spoke about people first. She thought of Earth's skies. Later, alone in her private chamber, she touched the crown. It responded, warming slightly, reading her thoughts as it always did. It offered guidance, probabilities, the safe path. For the first time, she pushed it away. Far below, in the quiet hum of the station's heart, the young worker looked up from his console. He felt a strange chill, as if something important had just shifted. Neither of them knew it yet, but the throne had already begun to crack, and somewhere in the dark, the watching ships moved a little closer. The little crowned one had started to understand something that no one in the council had taught her. She could feel the difference between rules and choices, between orders and wishes. Standing alone in the life core room beside the young worker, she realized she had never made a decision for herself before. Every move had been predicted, every word expected, every smile monitored. The worker, whose name was Talene, noticed her hesitation. He adjusted a pressure valve and wiped his hands on a cloth. "You should not be here," he said softly. "It is dangerous." "I know," she said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "But I like being here. No one tells me what to do, not really." He smiled, small and careful. Not many people get to feel that. "You are lucky." Lucky? She did not feel lucky. She felt trapped. Always. She felt a small hope she could not name. Over the next few days, she began visiting the Life Corps more often. She would arrive under the guise of inspecting systems, reviewing reports, or testing emergency protocols. The council did not notice because she had never refused their orders before. She had always been the perfect child ruler, the symbol of the Empire's strength. Each time she spoke with Talon, he told her stories of Earth, of green lands where the sky stretched wide, of rivers that moved without machines, of nights filled with quiet stars. She listened with fascination, imagining a world outside rules, beyond walls, beyond the reach of her crown. One night, while the station spun silently in orbit around a small blue planet, she asked him, "Have you ever loved someone?" Talon hesitated, as if the question had weight. "I think I have," he said finally, "once. A long time ago. But I was young, and the world took him away before I could say anything." She nodded slowly. "I think I understand. I feel something like that, but I do not know what it is." He studied her, noticing the seriousness in her small face. "Maybe it is love," he said softly. "Or maybe it is just wanting to be free." She touched the edge of her crown, the living metal warm under her fingers. "I have everything. And yet I have nothing. I cannot choose, cannot be myself." Talon reached out a hand, just slightly, almost a test. "Then maybe you should—" The words hung in the air like a spark, but freedom was dangerous. The council did not see her as a child anymore. Not really. She was the Empire's symbol, the point on which power balanced. Her disappearance would not only be seen as a failure, it would be considered betrayal. Talon knew this, and he feared the consequences, yet he could not stop her from feeling what she felt. The first threat appeared quietly. The station's long-range sensors picked up a fleet at the edge of the system. Not large, not immediately threatening, but careful and precise. Someone was watching the human empire, watching the little crowned one. The council called emergency meetings, speaking in numbers and probabilities, planning maneuvers no one outside the room would understand. The child ruler watched silently, feeling something she had never felt before. The weight of life beyond the throne. People lived or died. Decisions mattered. and her choice could change it all. She did not tell the council that she was afraid. Afraid of war, afraid of losing Talon, afraid of herself. One evening, she decided she could not wait any longer. She found Talon in a quiet maintenance bay. He was repairing a minor system failure. The room smelled of metal and oil, a small comfort in the vast station. "I want to leave," she said simply. He froze, wrench in hand. "Leave?"
Where? Anywhere, she said. Anywhere we can be free, even for a moment.
Talon's mind raced. Escape was impossible. The station was huge, but escape meant traveling past patrols, automated systems, and council spies. Worse, if she left, the council would send fleets after them. The Empire could not allow a ruler to vanish. "It is too dangerous," he said. "You cannot just walk away." She shook her head. "I do not care. I would rather die free than live locked in this golden cage." His eyes softened, filled with worry and admiration. "Then we have to plan it," he said. "We cannot just run. Not yet." And so they began to plan. They studied schedules, routes, sensor blind spots. They memorized patrols and control room shifts. They prepared a small shuttle hidden in a low-use docking bay, a vessel barely capable of escaping without detection. All the while, the unknown fleet at the edge of human space drew closer, watching, calculating. The council remained unaware of her intentions, too confident in their symbols and control. But every step the little crowned one took toward freedom increased the risk. Days passed. The council tightened the station's internal security, sensing a distant threat from the watching fleet. The little crowned one moved cautiously, relying on Talon's knowledge of the station's hidden corridors. Every moment they avoided detection. Every corner they turned in silence. The thrill of freedom grew. Finally, the day came. An artificial night cycle covered their escape. The station rotated slowly. Lights dimmed, and Talon guided her through service tunnels no one else used. The child ruler's small hands clutched the straps of a simple bag. She carried no weapons, no crown, only the barest essentials: food, water, and a single suit for the vacuum of space. As they reached the hidden shuttle, alarms suddenly blared. Someone had detected a minor breach. The council had not known it was her, but sensors were precise. Talon grabbed her hand. "Run!" They ran, sliding through corridors, leaping over maintenance panels, ducking under automated doors. The shuttle's hatch was open, engines humming. With a final push, they jumped inside, seals closing behind them. The shuttle shook as it disengaged from the station. Sensors pinged warnings. Unauthorized launch detected. The council would know within minutes. Human fleets would be mobilized. Every calculation of survival was now a gamble. The little crowned one pressed herself against the cabin wall, heart pounding. Talon worked the controls, guiding the vessel through patrol gaps, twisting the small ship along hidden sensor blind spots. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, black and infinite. She had never seen them like this, without a screen or projection, without a crown dictating her view. For the first time, she breathed freely. "We are not safe yet," Talon said. "We have to move fast. They will send ships to follow." She nodded, staring out at the vast galaxy. "I do not care. I feel alive." The first messages came quickly. Alerts from the station, intercepted communications, warnings from council members. Talon worked frantically to mask their signature, changing transponder codes, slipping into uncharted routes. The unknown fleet remained silent, observing. possibly waiting. Hours passed. The shuttle moved through hidden space lanes. They ate little, rested less. Every sound made her tense, every flicker of light a threat. Yet between the tension and fear, a strange peace grew. She was no longer a symbol, no longer a tool. She was simply herself, and Talon, whose hands were rough with work and worry, was beside her. For the first time, she felt something warm, something dangerous, something real. A bond that no crown could command, no counsel could dictate. Love, or its beginning, fragile and thrilling, growing with each passing moment. As the shuttle disappeared into the dark void beyond human sensors, the little crowned one realized that her throne, her empire, even her people's expectations were behind her. Ahead lay nothing but stars, freedom, and the uncertainty of life outside control. And in that uncertainty she smiled for the first time in her life, small and genuine, and whispered to herself, "I am alive." The shuttle moved silently through the dark, twisting paths between stars. Talon kept his hands steady on the controls, eyes scanning displays for patrols, automated sensors, and unknown ships. The little crowned one sat beside him, small hands pressed against the cold wall of the cabin. Her face reflected the dim lights of the console, pale and determined, yet calm in a way she had never felt inside the throne room. They had been moving for hours, slipping through hidden channels and forgotten space lanes. Talon had chosen a route that few ships traveled, a series of tunnels and gravitational currents that made tracking difficult. He spoke little. Every sound could be detected, every word a risk. "I am tired," the child said softly. Her voice sounded different here, without the echoes of the great hall. It was just hers, without ceremony or expectation. "You can rest soon," Talon said, glancing at her. "We will find a place to hide for a while. Maybe a colony or an abandoned station. Somewhere they will not find us immediately." She nodded but did not close her eyes. She could not relax, not fully. Every shadow beyond the viewport reminded her that the Empire's eyes were always watching. Every flicker of light, every distant point, could be a ship sent to capture her. Talon tried to keep the conversation light. "Do you like flying ships?" She looked at him and smiled faintly. "I have never been in one like this. Not really. Only on those rigid transport ships, with no windows and no space to move. I like this better," he chuckled softly. "It is not very comfortable. No soft chairs, no windows to the sky except for that small panel. But it is ours for now." She leaned closer, watching the stars.
"It feels endless." "Yes," he said.
And free. Freed. The word felt strange in her mouth. It was not a lesson, not a protocol, not a calculation. It was something she had never tasted. They spoke quietly for hours. Talon told her about other colonies, small human settlements far from the Empire's control. Some were old, abandoned for decades, left only for mining or research. Some were hidden, entirely unknown to the Council. She listened, fascinated. "Could we go there?" she asked. "Eventually," he said. "We need to make sure we are not followed first. And we need supplies." She frowned. "Supplies? Do we have enough?" Talon shook his head. "Barely. We can survive for a few days, maybe a week if we are careful. After that, we will have to find food, water, and fuel somewhere." The thought made her uneasy. In the throne room, her life had been carefully controlled. Every meal, every step, every breath had been planned. Here, every moment was uncertain. Every breath could be the wrong one. And yet, she felt more alive than ever before. As the shuttle moved further, the sensors began to detect signals in the distance. Not human. Not the Empire. Something else. Unknown. Shadows moving silently between stars. Talon's hands tightened on the controls. "I do not know what they are," he said. "Sensors are unclear. Could be scouts, could be something else." The little crowned one leaned closer, her eyes wide. "Are they dangerous?" "Possibly," he said. "We need to avoid them. Do not make contact." For the next hours they maneuvered carefully, twisting the small ship through hidden channels and gravitational currents. Every time the sensors flickered, both tensed. Each blip could be death, or worse. Capture. Finally they reached a small moon circling a gas giant. It was uninhabited, barren, with no atmosphere except a thin layer they could filter. Talon guided the shuttle into a narrow canyon, landing in a place so hidden that only someone who knew it existed could find it. The little crowned one stepped out into the airlock and breathed deeply. The filtered air was clean, cold, and sharp. She had never felt wind like this before. On the throne, the air had been warm, controlled, artificial. Here, it felt real. She could smell stone dust and the faint tang of metal. "This is beautiful," she said softly. Talon nodded. "It is not much, but it is safe for now. They will not find us here quickly." They worked quickly to secure the shuttle and set up a temporary camp. It was small, barely enough space for them to move without touching machinery. The moon was quiet, silent except for distant rockfalls or the occasional wind echo. It was a world abandoned, forgotten, and perfect for hiding. That night, the little crowned one sat outside the shuttle, staring at the faint glow of the gas giant above. Stars stretched endlessly, brighter and sharper than she had ever seen. She felt small, tiny, yet strangely free. "Do you ever wish you could leave?" she asked Talon. He looked at her, surprised. "Leave what?" "This," she said, gesturing at the stars, the empty land, the shuttle, everything. "The Empire, the throne, the people who expect everything from me. Do you ever wish to leave it all?" He was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes," he said finally, "but leaving is not easy. Once you have responsibility, you cannot just walk away. You have to make sure no one suffers because of your choice." She nodded slowly. Responsibility. That word followed her everywhere, even here. But for the first time, she felt she could choose, even if the choice was hard. As the night passed, the shuttle's small lights dimmed, and they slept in shifts. The child ruler, small and exhausted, finally closed her eyes. Dreams came, not of the throne, not of councils, but of open skies, of forests, rivers, and quiet stars. She dreamt of running without guards, laughing without rules, and walking beside someone who treated her as a person, not a symbol. The next morning brought new worries. Talon checked the sensors and frowned. "We are being followed," he said. "Not by the Empire, at least not yet. Something else is nearby." Long-range scanners picked up movement a few 100,000 kilometers back. The little crowned one studied the readouts, trying to make sense of the data. "Do they see us?" she asked. "They might," Talon said. "We need to move. Fast." Packing their small camp, they returned to the shuttle. The little crowned one felt a small thrill, the same thrill she had felt when running through the station corridors. Only now there were no walls, no ceilings, only stars and endless space. The chase began quietly. The shadows in the distance moved with precision, silent, calculating. They did not attack, not yet, but every move Talon made was shadowed, every calculation tested. For hours they twisted and turned, hiding in asteroid belts, slingshotting around planets, and using gravitational currents to mask their signature. Every moment was tense, every blip on the sensors a potential threat. During a short pause, the little crowned one spoke. "Do you think they want to hurt us?" "I do not know," Talon admitted, "but it is safer to assume they do. Any unknown fleet in space is dangerous." She looked out at the endless dark, feeling both fear and excitement. "I am not afraid," she said. "You should be," Talon said softly. "But you are brave, more than most people I have known." She smiled faintly, warmth spreading in her chest. The feeling was dangerous. She knew it. She had never allowed herself to feel anything so personal before. It made her human and vulnerable and free. As the day turned to night in the orbiting gas giant, they approached a small colony one Talon had discovered years before. It was hidden in a distant system, beyond the reach of the Empire's sensors, a place where humans lived quietly, not rulers, not soldiers, not symbols, only people. The little crowned one's heart beat faster. She did not know how the colony would react. They might recognize her. They might fear her. They might try to send word back to the Empire. Talon guided the shuttle carefully through the atmosphere. The colony was small, a scattering of buildings and domes, connected by narrow paths and energy fields. Smoke rose from small chimneys. People moved slowly, unaware of the small ship descending above them. Landing in a hidden hangar, Talon cut the engines. Silence returned. Only the hum of machinery filled the air. The child ruler stepped out first. The people stared. Some recognized her instantly, a crownless figure with small, pale hands. Some hesitated, unsure if she was friend or threat. She raised her hand slowly. "I am not here to rule," she said softly. "I am not here to take anything. I only seek shelter." The colony elders looked at each other and nodded. "You are welcome," one said, "but you are far from safety. Others may follow." She nodded. The words were a warning, not a promise. Yet she felt relief, warmth, and a small sense of belonging for the first time in her life. As night fell, the little crowned one and Talon sat outside the small building, looking at the stars again. Silence stretched between them, comfortable, unspoken. For a moment, the galaxy seemed still. For a moment, the Empire, the fleets, the unknown watchers, all were distant. For a moment, she could simply be a child, breathing freely, feeling the weight of life and choice. And in that moment, she realized something she had never known. She could survive outside the throne. She could live, even if only for a little while, as herself, and not as a symbol. Far above, unseen ships drifted silently. The Empire would search. Unknown forces would watch. Danger would not disappear. But in the quiet of the hidden colony, the little crowned one felt something powerful, something worth fighting for: freedom, choice, and the fragile, dangerous spark of love. And she knew with every heartbeat that the next decision she made would change everything, not just for her, but for the galaxy itself. The little crowned one and Talon had been in the hidden colony for several cycles. The colony was small and quiet, a forgotten outpost far from the Empire's gaze. Humans lived simply here, working their small fields, repairing machines, and keeping to themselves. They had no interest in empires or politics, no desire to kneel before rulers, and no reason to fear the past. The child ruler had been careful. She did not reveal her identity to everyone, only to the elders, who agreed to keep her presence secret. She wandered the colony freely, wearing simple clothing, no crown, no guards. She tasted real freedom for the first time in her life. She could run without orders, laugh without ceremony, and breathe without expectation. Yet, she could not forget that danger followed her. The Empire would search. Unknown watchers lingered in the void. Every sound beyond the colony, every signal in the dark, made her tense. Even here, safety was temporary. Talon moved constantly, maintaining the shuttle, checking sensors, and watching the skies. He had never been this responsible before, and the weight of it pressed on him heavily. He did not complain, but she could see the tension in his jaw, the restless movement of his hands, and the sharpness in his gaze. "You are too tense," she said one evening, as they sat outside the small building that served as their temporary shelter. The sky glowed with distant stars, and the gas giant in the distance cast faint light across the barren landscape. "I cannot relax," Talon said simply. "We are not safe. Not yet. The Empire will send ships. And those other ships, they are still out there, watching." She nodded slowly. "I know, but we cannot live always in fear. We have to take some moments for ourselves." He looked at her, noticing the fire in her small face. She was still a child, but her words carried weight, determination, and courage that most adults lacked. "You are brave," he said, "more than anyone I have known." She did not answer immediately. She was thinking, planning. Even here, even free, she could not escape the part of herself trained to rule, to calculate, to survive. And she could not ignore the danger waiting beyond the stars. The first real sign of trouble came quietly. Sensors on the shuttle detected small, fast ships moving along the outer edge of the system. They were human, but not from the colony. They were fleet scouts, unmarked, efficient, moving with purpose. Talon froze. "The Council must have sent them," he said. "They know we are here. They must suspect the shuttle. We need to leave immediately." The little crowned one studied the readouts. She had learned quickly, and her mind, trained for politics and strategy, began calculating possibilities. "Do they know who I am?" she asked.
"Not yet," Talon said. "They see a shuttle escaping the system.
They do not know the pilot is with you, but they will. Once they find out, they will stop at nothing." She nodded. The thought of returning to the Empire, to the throne, was unbearable. Yet she could not ignore the danger.
"We leave," she said simply. "Now."
They packed quickly. The colony elders watched silently, offering no words, only knowing looks. They understood the risk. Once the Empire discovered her location, the colony would be in danger as well. The shuttle lifted smoothly, gliding above the barren landscape. Talon guided it carefully, avoiding detection as best as he could. The fleet scouts had not noticed them yet, but the sensors were clear. Shadows were moving fast, closing in. Hours passed. The scouts pursued them, using every known tracking method. Talon twisted the shuttle through hidden channels, using asteroids, gas clouds, and gravitational pulls to mask their movement. But he knew the fleet was efficient, trained, and relentless. "We cannot outrun them forever," he said quietly. "We need another plan." The little crowned one studied the sensors, her small fingers tracing the paths of the pursuing ships. Her mind, trained for strategy, began to think like a general, calculating possibilities. We can use the gas giant, she said. Its gravity can hide our path. We can dive into the atmosphere for a short time. They cannot follow easily there. Colin's eyes widened. It is dangerous. The shuttle is small. We could burn out the engines, crash. It is risky. I know, she said, but it is safer than being chased openly. We must try. He nodded, trusting her judgment. Together, they maneuvered the shuttle toward the gas giant. The engines burned hot as they descended, twisting through storms of clouds, avoiding lightning and high winds. The fleet followed at a distance, but the planet's gravity disrupted their sensors. For a while, the pursuit slowed. The little crowned one leaned back, breathing heavily. It worked, she said, for now, but safety was temporary. As they emerged from the gas giant's atmosphere, new signals appeared on the sensors, not human this time. Unknown ships, faster and more precise than anything they had seen. They had been waiting. They are watching us, Talon said. Not the Empire, something else. The little crowned one's heart raced. She had imagined freedom, but she had not imagined this. The unknown watchers could be enemies, raiders, or worse. She had no idea of their intentions, only that they were efficient, organized, and dangerous. Hours turned into tense silence. Talon navigated carefully, using every trick he knew to hide their path. The little crowned one stayed close, monitoring the sensors, calculating, learning. Every move was a risk. Every decision could be fatal. Then, suddenly, the shuttle shook. An energy pulse struck the hull, vibrating through the metal. Talon's hands tightened on the controls. They found us, he said. The little crowned one leaned forward, heart pounding. We cannot stop. We must survive. They twisted and turned, diving into asteroid fields, skimming the surface of small moons, using debris and gravity to mask their path. The unknown ships pursued relentlessly. Each second was a battle, each maneuver a test of skill and courage. At one point, the shuttle's engines overheated. Warning lights flashed, alarms blared. Talon worked frantically, repairing circuits while maintaining evasive maneuvers. The little crowned one watched, helping where she could, her small hands steady despite the danger.
You are amazing, Talon said, briefly looking at her.
Most people would panic. You are focused, calm, stronger than anyone I have known. She smiled faintly, trying to ignore the fear. I have no choice, she said. If we stop, we die. If we panic, we die. So we keep going. The hours passed in tense silence, only broken by alarms, engine warnings, and distant signals. Neither spoke much. Words were dangerous. Focus was necessary. Every sound, every signal, every blip mattered. Finally, they reached a small, uncharted system. Talon scanned carefully. There is a planet here, he said. It is small, cold, not inhabited, but we can hide for a while. The little crowned one nodded. Then we hide, rest, plan the next move. Landing was careful, precise. The shuttle touched down on a rocky plain, engines cooling, shields still active. Outside, the cold wind blew across barren hills. The stars were bright, sharp, endless. For the first time in hours, they breathed without alarms, without sensors, without pursuit. The little crowned one stepped outside, feeling the cold bite her cheeks. She looked at Talon. We survived, she said softly. Yes, he said. For now, but we cannot stay long. The Empire will search. The unknown ships will follow. God, we are not safe yet. She nodded slowly. She had learned something in these hours. Freedom was not simple. It was never safe, but it was worth fighting for. That night, as they huddled in the shuttle, she spoke quietly. Do you think we can keep surviving like this? Talon looked at her, tired, worried, but steady. I do not know, he said. But we will try, together. The words were simple, but powerful. Together. Not ruler and servant, not symbol and subject. Just two people, surviving, learning, and moving forward. For the first time, the little crowned one allowed herself a small sense of hope. Danger surrounded them, waiting in the dark, but she felt something new. Choice. Freedom. And perhaps, for the first time, love. Outside, beyond the stars, the unknown ships waited, and the Empire searched. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, and uncertain, but for the first time she felt she could face it, not as a child ruler, not as a symbol, but as herself. And she knew, deep inside, that the next decisions would not only shape her life, but the lives of everyone she had left behind. The little crowned one and Talon stayed hidden on the cold, rocky planet for several cycles. The air was thin, bitter, and clean. The planet was empty, abandoned, and silent, a perfect hiding place from both the Empire and the unknown ships that had been following them. They used the shuttle as shelter, repairing engines, checking sensors, and trying to rest, but true rest was impossible. Danger waited everywhere, and every noise, every signal reminded them that the universe was not forgiving. The child ruler walked across the barren landscape, small boots crunching on the stones. She looked at the stars above, bright and endless, and for a moment she let herself dream. She dreamed of freedom, of running without guards, of laughing without orders, of choosing her life for herself. But reality always returned quickly. She was not safe. Not yet. Talon worked quietly in the shuttle, checking the systems. Every calculation mattered. Every mistake could be fatal. He knew the Empire would search relentlessly. The scouts had already passed through this sector once, and more ships would follow. He could not predict the unknown ships, and that frightened him more than any human fleet. "Do you think they will give up?" she asked quietly, standing at the shuttle's open hatch. Talon shook his head. Humans? No, they never give up. Not for a ruler. And the others? I do not know. But we cannot rely on them giving up. We have to move. The little crowned one nodded. Then we move. We cannot stay here. They began preparing the shuttle for departure. Every system was checked, every panel inspected, every sensor scanned. Talon worked efficiently, moving with precision. The little crowned one watched, helping where she could, learning. She was small, yes, but her mind was trained for leadership, strategy, and survival. And now, those skills were necessary for her own life. Hours passed. The cold sun rose and fell, and the stars shifted. Talon finally spoke, breaking the silence. "We have a plan," he said. "We will use the asteroid field near the edge of this system. It is dense, dangerous, but it can hide us from scanners. We can lose them there. If we are careful, we might have a chance." She studied him. "Asteroids. Small ones? Large ones? How fast will we go?" "We will go fast." Too fast for ordinary detection, but dangerous. One mistake, and the shuttle could be destroyed. Her face was calm. "Then we go." They lifted off, engines burning against the cold, thin air. The shuttle moved into space, silent and swift. Ahead, the asteroid field stretched across the darkness, rocks of every size spinning slowly in orbit. Some were small as a house, some larger than the shuttle itself. Navigation would be difficult. Any miscalculation could crush them. Talon guided the shuttle carefully, weaving between the larger rocks, adjusting for gravitational pulls, dodging debris. The unknown ships were following, persistent, efficient, precise. Every second was tense, every movement dangerous.
You are doing well, the little crowned one said softly.
Better than I imagined. He glanced at her, a small smile forming. We will need more than skill to survive this. We need luck, she nodded, gripping the edge of the console. Then we hope for luck. The asteroid field grew denser. Talon twisted the shuttle through narrow gaps, engines humming at full power. Rocks spun, collided, and tumbled in silence. Sensors detected hundreds of potential hazards, each one a threat. Every move required focus, precision, and courage. Suddenly, a larger rock shifted unexpectedly. Talon swerved, narrowly avoiding collision. Warning lights flashed, alarms blared. The little crowned one held her breath, heart pounding. Focus, Talon said sharply. We cannot stop. Not now. She nodded, steadying herself. The shuttle weaved again, dodging spinning debris. Outside, the unknown ships followed, careful, deliberate, matching their movements, attempting to track them. Hours passed in tense silence. Neither spoke except for brief warnings or calculations. The little crowned one helped when possible, monitoring sensors, watching for gaps, predicting movement. She felt alive, more alive than ever. Fear and freedom mixed, and in that mixture, something else stirred, the dangerous, thrilling spark of connection with Talon. At one point, the shuttle barely missed a collision with a spinning asteroid larger than the ship. Talon gritted his teeth, hands steady, but the tension visible. The little crowned one leaned close, offering assistance. Adjust the left thrusters, she said. Now. He did, trusting her judgment. The shuttle moved, narrowly avoiding disaster. For a moment, silence returned. Both of them exhaled, bodies tense, hearts racing. You are incredible, Talon said finally. Most people would panic. You stay calm. I have no choice, she said quietly. If I panic, we die. So I focus. They moved through the field for hours. Each narrow escape, each correct calculation strengthened her confidence. She was no longer just the child ruler, the symbol of the empire. She was herself, alive, aware, and in control of her fate. Finally, they reached the edge of the asteroid field. Beyond it, space opened into a quiet, dark stretch. No known fleets, no unknown ships, only empty space and distant stars. Talon allowed himself a brief sigh of relief. We made it, for now. The little crowned one stepped back, letting herself feel the relief. For the first time in cycles, she smiled fully, small and genuine. Yes, Talon said, glancing at her, but alive is not enough. We have to survive, and survive, we must plan. They drifted in silence, moving toward a small, uncharted system. Talon scanned carefully. There was a planet there, cold, rocky, but with resources they could use. Water, energy, and shelter. It was perfect for hiding. Landing was cautious. The shuttle touched down on a rocky plain, engines cooling. Outside, the wind whipped across the barren hills. Stars shone above, distant and eternal. The little crowned one stepped outside, feeling the cold bite her cheeks. She looked at Talon. "We have survived again," she said. "Yes," he said, "but they will not stop. The Empire will search. The unknown ships will follow. Danger is not over." She nodded. Danger had been constant since she left the throne. Every step, every breath, every decision carried risk. Yet she felt something new. Courage. And with courage came determination. That night, as they rested in the shuttle, the little crowned one spoke softly. "Do you think we can keep surviving like this?" Talon looked at her, tired, worried, but steady. "I do not know," he said, "but we will try. Together." Together, the word felt strange and wonderful. Not ruler and servant, not symbol and subject, but two people, surviving, moving forward, connected by necessity, trust, and the dangerous, fragile spark of something more. The night passed quietly, but the stars above reminded her that the galaxy was not forgiving. The Empire searched relentlessly. Unknown ships waited in the darkness. Every move could be their last. And yet, for the first time, she felt hope. Not the false hope taught by the Council, or the strategic hope required by rulers, but real hope. She could choose. She could live. She could fight. The little proud one pressed her small hands together, feeling the weight of her decision. To survive, to protect Talon, to protect herself, she would have to continue running, continue hiding, continue planning. But she would do it as herself, not as the throne, not as a symbol. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, and uncertain. But for the first time she felt she could face it. Not as a child ruler, not as a symbol of human power, but as someone who chose her life, her freedom, and the people she cared about. The Empire would search, the unknown ships would follow. Danger was everywhere, but she had courage, skill, and trust. And sometimes that was enough. And she knew, deep inside, that the choices ahead would not only shape her future, but the future of everyone she had left behind. The Empire, the galaxy, and even the unknown Watchers would have to reckon with the little crowned one who refused to be ruled by fear or expectation. For the first time, she felt ready. The little crowned one and Talon had survived longer than either of them had imagined possible. Days, cycles, and countless calculations had kept them alive. They had hidden, maneuvered, and endured the cold silence of distant space. Yet danger still followed them, persistent and unrelenting. From their small, rocky planet, the stars seemed calm, but sensors told a different story. The Empire had discovered the shuttle's last known coordinates. Scouts were closing in, moving with precision and speed. The unknown ships, those silent watchers, were still nearby, waiting, studying. Every second was a threat. Talon worked tirelessly in the shuttle. Engines, sensors, navigation systems, everything had to function perfectly. One mistake, one miscalculation, and they would not survive. He glanced at the child ruler, seated beside the console, small hands pressed together, eyes sharp and focused. "You look calm," he said. "I am not sure I could stay this calm if the Empire found us now." She looked at him and shook her head. "I am calm because I know fear does not help. Every second we panic is a second closer to death. We must act, not react." He studied her, amazed. She had learned so quickly, adapted so fast, and yet she remained herself. Not a symbol, not a child, not a ruler, just a person capable of choice, courage, and leadership. Suddenly, the sensors lit up. Several small ships had appeared on the edge of the system, moving fast, closing in. Human, but not fleet scouts. Something different, something aggressive. "They are ahead of us," Talon said. "We cannot outrun them without a plan. They will intercept if we move straight." The little crowned one leaned closer, studying the displays. Her small fingers traced possible paths, calculating trajectories, escape routes, and hazards.
"We do not move straight," she said. "We move through the asteroid belt again."
"I know another path, a hidden corridor. It is risky, but it is our best chance." Talon hesitated. "Another asteroid field? You remember what happened last time?" "One mistake, I know," she said calmly. "But we survive by taking risks, not by hiding." He nodded, trusting her. Together they guided the shuttle toward the asteroid field, weaving carefully, engines humming, sensors alert. Outside, rocks tumbled, spun, and collided in silence. The pursuing ships followed, relentless, precise, and faster than before. Hours passed. Every maneuver was tense, every movement critical. Talon worked the controls with steady hands, guided by the little crowned one's calculations. She monitored sensors, predicted paths, and called out instructions, her voice quiet but firm. Suddenly, a large asteroid shifted unexpectedly, and one of the pursuing ships fired. A beam of energy struck a nearby rock, causing it to explode. Debris flew in every direction. Talon swerved, narrowly avoiding collision. The little crowned one held her breath.
"Adjust left thrusters. Now." He obeyed instantly.
The shuttle twisted between spinning rocks, avoiding destruction by centimeters. Outside, the pursuing ships slowed, careful, trying to follow. They passed through the field slowly, using every trick they knew, weaving between rocks, masking their sensors, and hiding in shadows. The unknown ships did not attack, only observed, calculating. Every second increased their awareness, and every second increased the tension. Finally, they emerged from the asteroid field. Space opened before them, dark and quiet. For a brief moment, they breathed. "Did we lose them?" the little crowned one asked. Talon shook his head. "Not completely. They are behind us, but we are hidden for now. We have a chance to escape to the next system, a small, uncharted planet. We can hide there and plan the next move."
She nodded. "Then we go."
No delays. The shuttle moved swiftly, navigating the empty stretch between systems. Both remained quiet, focused, and tense. Each sensor blip, each signal could be a threat. Each moment demanded attention, skill, and courage. When they reached the uncharted system, Talon scanned carefully. The planet was small, rocky, and cold. There was little atmosphere, but enough for filtered suits and small equipment. Energy readings were low, but there were underground caverns and structures they could use for shelter. Landing was careful and precise. The shuttle touched down on the rocky surface, engines cooling, shields active. The little Crown One stepped outside, feeling the cold bite her cheeks. She looked at Talon.
"We have survived again," she said softly. "Yes," he said.
"But the Empire will continue to search. The unknown ships will follow. We are not safe. We have to move quickly." They explored the planet, finding an abandoned underground facility. It had once been a research station, now silent, but structurally sound. They moved equipment inside, hid the shuttle, and prepared for temporary refuge. For a moment, the little crowned one allowed herself to rest. She had survived countless dangers, evaded human fleets, and escaped the unknown watchers. She was small, but her courage, intelligence, and determination had carried them through. That night, as she sat beside Talon, she spoke softly. "Do you think we will ever be safe?" He looked at her, eyes steady and serious. "I do not know. Safety is a word for those who do not face danger. We survive, we hide, we plan."
That is all we can do." She nodded.
Survival was enough for now. She had learned that freedom came with risk, and risk was unavoidable. But she had choice, and choice gave her power greater than any crown. Days passed. They repaired equipment, prepared supplies, and mapped nearby space. Each night, they watched the stars, calculating the movements of distant fleets and unknown ships. Each day, they moved cautiously, testing the planet's resources, strengthening their refuge. Then, one cycle, a new signal appeared. Faster, closer, different from before. The unknown watchers had moved. They were near, much closer than previously detected. Talon's hands tightened on the controls. "They know we are here," he said. "They can sense us now. They are faster than anything we have seen." The little crowned one studied the sensors. She felt fear, but also resolve. "Then we face them. We cannot run forever." Hours later, strange ships appeared in orbit, sleek, dark, silent, and faster than human technology. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed, surrounding the planet, probing sensors, testing defenses. Talon checked the shuttle. "We cannot fight them. Our weapons are weak. We can hide, but they will find us eventually." She pressed her hands together, thinking. "Then we use the planet, the caverns. The sensors. We make them think the planet is empty. We survive by strategy, not by weapons." For days, they prepared. The little crown one studied the watchers' movements, predicting patterns, weaknesses, and blind spots. Talon worked tirelessly, hiding the shuttle, setting decoys, and preparing traps. Finally, the moment came. The watchers scanned directly above the shuttle. The little crowned one activated a series of false signals, masking their energy signature, while Talon guided them through a narrow cavern route. The watchers searched, probed, and scanned, but could not detect them. They were safe for now. The little crowned one leaned against the cold wall of the cavern, breathing heavily. She had survived fleets, asteroid fields, and unknown watchers. For the first time in her life, she felt truly free. Not a ruler, not a symbol, but herself. Talon joined her, sitting beside her.
"We made it," he said quietly. "Yes," she said.
"For now, but we must keep moving. We cannot stay in one place. Freedom is not permanent, not without risk." They rested in silence, listening to the wind howling through caverns, feeling the cold bite their cheeks, and watching the faint light from outside. For a moment, the galaxy seemed still, and in that stillness, the little crowned one understood something she had never realized on the throne. Power was not in a crown, not in fleets, not in obedience. Power was in choice, in courage, in the ability to act when danger threatened, in the bond between two people fighting to survive together. The Empire would search. Unknown watchers would follow. Danger would never end. But she had survived. She had chosen. She had lived. And for now, that was enough. As the cold stars stretched endlessly above, She pressed her hands together, feeling the weight of everything she had endured. She had traded her throne for freedom, for choice, for life, and she had found something greater than power, herself. She looked at Talon's small smile forming and whispered, "We are alive. We are free. And we will survive." He nodded, a small smile touching his face. Together. The galaxy remained wide, dark, and dangerous, but the little crowned one no longer feared it. She had faced fleets, unknown forces, and impossible odds. She had survived, and she would continue to survive, not as a ruler, not as a symbol, but as herself. The little crowned one who traded her throne for a moment, a life, and a choice worth everything.